the Sleep Geek Podcast. It's a raucous romp through the mattress industry with your hosts, Mark Kinsley and Mark Quinn. Dos Marcos. Mattress industry mavens, hang on to your quilted pillow tops because this tick's about to get real.
So, you know it's rude as hell to shush someone, right?
Yeah, but that's
and by the way, for the record, I wasn't even saying anything, and you're still shushing me.
I'll probably shush
But
you.
there's before it's over. But there's a reason.
I'm standing there at the Sleep Tech Summit in Santa Clara, and Harvey Karp, who has been a pediatrician for 30 years, walks up to the microphone, and that's what he did. He shushed the entire audience, and I'm like, where's this going? And come to find out, he discovered the on-off switch for babies to sleep and to get them to stop crying. So babies between like 0 and 6 months. So anyway, I thought it was really cool, and he won the first Sleep Tech Summit award for a crib that he designed that helped to turn the switch on and off for little babies. Of course, parents want to sleep.
That's going to make a lot of parents very happy, and those of us who have passed that stage make us very frustrated that he wasn't around when we had to go through all of that. Because a crying baby is very, very tough. It's stressful. And a lot of parents don't let their kids cry through it, and they end up bringing them into the bed. It disrupts the parents' sleep because the kid isn't sleeping. It's a tough thing.
Yeah, it is frustrating, and it is just one of those things you feel like you got to deal with.
Right.
But Harvey's saying no, you don't have to deal with it. And speaking of things, let's get back to the Sleep Tech Summit, but let's circle back. Speaking of things you have to deal with,
before any of that ever happened, you were in San Francisco, and you got mugged by a dozen gang members that stole all your stuff. Is that what happened?
and they had lasers on their guns.
Lasers on their guns and attack dogs, and you somehow survived all that.
Yeah, Mike Magnuson and I barely made it out. That's the story whenever you play the game of
That's
telephone.
what you told me.
Well, yeah, maybe.
That's not true, though.
Not exactly
But
true.
you did no. But honestly, you got robbed.
We got robbed. Yeah, so I actually Mike Magnuson runs goodbed.com. It is the largest review site for mattresses on the internet. And Mike was going to the Sleep Tech Summit down in Santa Clara. And so I said, hey, I'll meet you in San Francisco, and he's going to drive us down.
Nice.
So I met him over at his house, and we're testing out some audio equipment on the sidewalk. It's about 7:45 in the morning. Kids are on their way to school. Parents are out. People are walking. It's a very nice street.
You just had your first Bloody Mary.
Well, I wish at this point. So Mike and I are testing this audio equipment. We put our briefcases in his car and walk across the street to his house. We can see his car. We pop open the garage door, and we just do a quick lap in his house because he's doing construction, and he wanted to show me the basement that they're refinishing. And the studs are up. I mean, there's not a whole lot to see, so we just did a really quick lap. We walk outside.
So how much time from when you left the street to when you returned to the street?
Well, let me put it like this. We were inside the house for less than 3 minutes.
Okay.
We walk out, go across the street. His window's been busted out. There's a rag down on the ground, and both of our briefcases are gone.
So the rag probably used to shield their hand or whatever when they busted in the
Yeah, they
window.
probably busted it out with a tool, and
Yeah.
they used the rag to kind of wipe the glass down so they could reach in or put it over, drape it
Yeah,
over the
drape
edge
it
so
over
they
the
could
edge,
reach
right,
down
right.
inside. Clearly, they were watching us, and they saw us testing audio equipment. They saw us put our bags in our car. So Mike and I take off, like around the neighborhood, seeing if we can find anybody on foot or if we can track down somebody that maybe had ditched our bags. But I had my passport in there. I had my car keys. I had my hotel keys, both of them.
And your computer, which is everything, right? You got everything on that.
My journal. Mike's got lots of notes from goodbed.com, handwritten notes, his computer, a variety of other personal things and financial things, stuff like that, like really important stuff. So we're going around the neighborhood, and I remember seeing a guy with a red hat with some black writing on the hat. And I go, Mike, I heard him yell at somebody when we were outside, standing there kind of wrapping up our conversation before he put the garage door down. So I see the guy, and I jump out, and he's a little, he's maybe in his early 50s. And I jump out and I say, hey, I heard you yelling at somebody. We just got robbed. And I kind of confront him. And
So
he's
now,
like,
did you think this guy actually was the perpetrator of the crime, or were you thinking he had information, or maybe both?
at the time, I thought he just had information.
Okay.
I heard him yell at somebody, and I didn't know what he was yelling at or why.
Okay.
So I wanted to talk to him. So we're talking to him. It turns out he's a neighbor, and he had seen a couple of guys like peeling out, driving really fast, and he yelled at them. They almost hit somebody. And so these are probably the guys that actually busted open the window or took our bags. And he kind of described what they might look like in the car and such. So we drive around, don't find anything, go back, file a police report. There was actually a cop standing up on the top of the hill. So I pull him down, we file a police report. About 45 minutes later, I get a phone call from a strange number in Oakland. Well, somebody at the an art institute like 3 blocks away had found our bags out front and brought them inside. And so they called my cell phone. It was on my business card, which was in my briefcase.
Oh.
And so they call my cell phone, and they say, hey, we have your bags. We found them outside. And so by the time the cops went down, another squad car went down, got our bags, brought them back. Everything was in our bags except our computers.
Wow.
Even the computer charger. They didn't even take that. Now, there was a book about Teddy Roosevelt that also ended up missing, but I don't think they stole it. And if they did, I hope
Maybe they're just Teddy Roosevelt.
I hope they read it. Yeah. And realize
Wow.
he was a person of justice.
You know, that stinks that you got ripped off, but I hope that you've reflected on the fact that, thank God, it wasn't something worse, right? I mean, these guys could have come up at gunpoint or something like that and taken your stuff that way.
Yeah, I mean, it could always be worse. And, Mike and I just decided, hey, let's go. Let's go to the Sleep Tech Summit.
Right.
So glass.
What are you going to do, right?
Glass in the back seat, flying around. We're going down the 101 for about an hour to Santa Clara, and we show up to the Sleep Tech Summit, and that was that.
Gosh, that stinks. So what is the impact looking back at that? I mean, obviously, you were able to wipe your computer clean remotely with Macs. You can do that, right?
Yeah, you have the Find My Phone app, and you
Yep.
pull it up, and any device that's connected to it, whether it's an iPad or a Mac, you click a button, and you can erase it.
Yeah.
And it's a really weird feeling to actually
Hit that button.
press that
Yep.
trash can button and erase it. But I did it, and then you can actually put a splash message up. So if somebody connects to Wi-Fi, number one, it gets wiped.
Yep.
Number two, mine's going to say stolen computer.
Yep.
Reward if returned.
So that kind of bums you out, right? I mean, it's like humanity. You get ripped off, and you just kind of go, why? Like, why would to get something done to you that way, right?
Yeah. But
How do you feel about it now? Any thoughts?
I think the most important lesson for me was, number one, from a technical standpoint, I'm going to be highly paranoid, especially when I'm in the city and things like that. San Francisco, come
Yeah,
to find
we're not
out,
in Joplin, Missouri there.
No, come to find out, it's the number one city for car break-ins. And clearly somebody was watching us.
Right.
Mike was, at the time, just like, this is crazy. I can see this happening in many scenarios. He's
Right.
had his car broken into before.
But Mike lives in a great neighborhood. And
Lives in a nice neighborhood, and we were right across the street with the garage door open. Like, we almost
Yep.
had line of sight to the car
Wow.
the whole time, so clearly their watch is brazen. And these are probably people that drugs or who knows what the situation is.
I'm sorry. That's terrible. I hate
No,
to hear
but
that.
You got to move on, and the way I'm looking at it, it's actually been a good exercise. And number one, remember to back up, get your cloud storage. Don't mess around
Right,
with that.
no
It can
doubt.
happen to anybody. Number two, working without a computer for a while is kind of an interesting thing. It's forced me to be out and about with people to a much higher degree, and I realized that's where I add the most
Because
value.
you don't have your computer, right?
Yeah.
So when do you get a new computer?
Probably this week or next week.
You getting a new Mac?
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
So here's something to not leave on a negative about people. I was at a grocery store last week in a hurry because I wanted to get back to the house. We had 6 kids in my house spending the night. It was a Saturday. And I'm going to come back and make them breakfast. And I had this new recipe and all that. So I go to the grocery store, and I'm in a hurry, and I get everything I need. And you know how you can get money over what you spent?
Mm-hmm.
I did that. Left, got home 15 minutes later. Oh my God, I forgot to pull the money out of the dispense. And it was $100. So not the end of the world, but it's $100. So I called the store and said, hey, I left the money in the ATM. They go, yep, we got it. Someone turned it in. So some consumer who could very easily have just taken that $100 and put it in their pocket, took the cash, gave it to the manager of the store, and I went and retrieved the money. And I said, "Are they still there? Hang on to them. I'll give them some money." And they said, "No, they're gone." But how about that? I mean, that's not very common.
I would say, in my personal experience,
Warmed my heart, right?
there are more examples of what you described
No doubt.
than getting robbed in San Francisco.
Yeah, no doubt.
There are more examples of people doing the right thing when they don't have to, when nobody's
Right.
looking, than there are examples of bad things happening to good people.
Yeah.
I truly believe that.
I think you're right. So there's some good stories.
There's Greg. Look at him.
Well, he's
Would you put your clothes on, sir?
he's a perfect illustration of. Well, he heard us talking about good people, and he
Yeah.
shows up. I mean, it's not by accident.
Just showed up. And
All right, so enough of that.
Good person. That's like seared
person.
image in my brain, though.
Perfect image of the good person. So
anyway, we
the
made
sleep
our
tech.
our way down the 101 with the glass flying around in the back seat. We went to the Sleep Tech Summit. Thank you so much to the National Sleep Foundation, David Cloud, Jessica Wartzer. They were really instrumental in us getting connected through Sleep Geek to the Sleep Tech Summit. And I'll tell you what, this just hit me. What sleep tech means to the world. And I'm really excited about it because, it took a couple of weeks because I'm a slow processor. And I realized something. I'm sitting here looking at these gadgets and components and sleep tracking technology and the crib that Harvey Karp designed with the MIT labs. I'm looking at all these things and I'm thinking, what does it mean? Because, a lot of people put on like a Fitbit right now and they think they didn't sleep well because, look, I was awake all night. Look at all this movement on the actigraph. Like they look at the graph, but it's wrong.
But that's not right.
A healthy sleeper moves an average of 50 times every night. So you have that, and now you have people that are introducing sleep tech that monitors your breathing rate, your heart rate, and your movement to really get an accurate snapshot of did you sleep well or not. So I'm seeing all this stuff, and last night it hit me. I'm like, whenever the Atkins diet, so you think about diet, exercise, and sleep. Sleep being the third.
The three-legged stool of optimum health, right?
Right. So we've had the era of diet, or we'll call it nutrition. We've had the era of nutrition. We've had the era of fitness. These things have taken a firm hold in society. We're moving into the era of sleep. So let's look at the other two as a way to analyze what might happen with sleep as people become more attuned to their needs and implement things that help them. And I thought about the Atkins diet. The Atkins diet was a very narrow understanding of nutrition, carbs. Weight Watchers was calorie counting. Paleo was all about the good fats and the bad fats, essentially. There are a lot of ways we can beat up those diets, but each one of them gave us a very narrow insight into nutrition. And so you go down the path of adopting the diet, you implement it, you monitor the way your body feels, and then over time you probably don't continue eating that way. But you've learned about nutrition and you default to some of the best practices. And those are the things that sustain you. You're all of a sudden eating better in general because you're more conscious of your carbs, or you're more conscious of the goods and the bad fat, or you're counting those calories. I think sleep tech and what's happening in that space with the gizmos and gadgets that monitor sleep are going to be applied in a very similar way. I think people are going to monitor their sleep, they're going to look at it, and they're going to take away a knowledge base that's going to help them implement best practices in sleep. They may abandon the device, but it's going to help the world as a whole get interested and get educated.
So that is really a great way of looking at that. I think the way that you processed that event and came away with that there is an entry point. Technology is a hook into understanding something that's critically important for our health, which is sleep in this case. And back then, the hook wasn't necessarily technology for nutrition and for exercise, was it? It was an event. It was a diet that got lots of buzz. So that kind of was the entry point. And in this case, don't you think it's kind of technology that's bringing people in? Because now there's biometric measurement that can tell you something about your sleep life.
Well, and it's such an under examined area of health, and sleep science in general is very young. So I think for a long time we've been looking for that entry point, because with diet it's very simple, vanity. With exercise it's very simple, vanity. I mean, you want to look good. You want to feel good. I mean, there's a vain aspect to it. Like Zumba, CrossFit,
Right.
jazzercise, whatever fitness trend you're talking about, it's a good entry point, but we didn't really have that for sleep. And so I think tech is doing that.
Yeah, but go back to that. And I think you're right. Go back to that even though. So think about measurement, right? So how do you measure? What is the metric for understanding if you're eating well? Nutrition is good, right? So it's the scale. You jump on a scale and you know if you're losing weight. For nutrition, it could be blood work, right? So we're eating the right kinds of foods, our cholesterol's down. There's a measurement device. For sleep, there wasn't ever a measurement device. And the guys at BAM Labs, when Leggett got involved with them years ago on the Starry Night Project, Rich Raffretti said to me, I believe there's going to be a day when we kind of say to ourselves, I can't believe our bed never told us anything about our sleep. And the fact that we can't, so the only way you measure was your sleep good is, hey, how did you sleep? I slept well. Really? How did you know? How do you know that you slept well?
My grandma used
now
to say,
you can, right?
We'd ask my grandma, how did you sleep last night? And she'd say, I don't know. I didn't stay awake to find out.
I love grandma sayings. Good for her.
It's right, though.
That's absolutely, you don't know.
Who knows?
But now you know. You have a way to measure that. And so the question is, what I think is interesting is most people can have a general conversation, don't you think, about nutrition? Or they can have a fairly educated discussion about exercise. Don't think that's true for sleep. And to your point, which I think was brilliant, it is now going to educate. There's interest. Technology is hooking them in. The technology is going to drive interest in the platform of good sleep.
I think it was Peter Drucker that said, that which gets measured gets managed.
Right.
And it piggybacks on top of exactly what you said. We had no way of gathering accurate information. And the pioneers in this space were looking at movement, and movement is not the only factor. Now it's being baked into beds. Technology prices, componentry, things like that are coming down in price point. People are becoming aware. And as a category, all of a sudden, sleep is about to go through its renaissance.
I think you're right. The question is, what does the measured life give you, right? So what behavior does it change? So if, and people would say, yeah, you know what, I get it. I know that caffeine, but the biggest thing I think people don't understand is caffeine. Yeah, I can drink it at 6 o'clock at night and still go to bed at 8. They don't understand that it keeps you from REM sleep. Yes, you can get to sleep, but it keeps you from that meaningful restorative sleep. I think big thing there. But what is the measured life do? If you know, Kinsley, that you're going to have 2 or 3 glasses of wine with dinner, but that alcohol disrupts sleep and it takes your body time to process the alcohol, therefore you're not going to get that 8+ sleep, and you have a big day the next day, are you going to have those 2 or 3 glasses of wine?
No.
I don't think no. And I don't think I would either.
At some point, it becomes not worth it. And then on top of that, alcohol, like people understand it, a little bit of alcohol can be a depressant, but alcohol in excess becomes a stimulant. And whenever it becomes a stimulant, you do, just like caffeine, stay out of deep REM sleep. So yeah, you might be passed out, but you're not getting into the restorative phase of sleep that helps you feel recovered, rest, refreshed, like ready to be able to tackle the day.
Well, so money drives things, right? So billions and billions of dollars being spent on exercise. So people advertising exercise equipment, gym memberships, another part of that, all the event things around exercise, the 5Ks and all of that. So money, a lot of investment. Nutrition, same thing, right? Diets and food and Weight Watchers. And so where's the money, do you think? Where's the money going to come from to help propel the sleep renaissance that you mentioned?
Well, I don't know where the money's going to come from, but I do know who owns the money right now, and it's the pill companies.
Right.
Because we did a study.
And look who's got the voice of good sleep, right?
Yeah.
It's not a hotel. It's not even the mattress guys because we choose to talk about other things. It's the drug guys.
Yeah, the drug guys. And really, when you look at like keyword research on Google and you evaluate, okay, what is the conversation from a search standpoint? You know how you search Google and ask,
Sure.
What should I do about X? Whenever you look at that data, typically it says problems own sleep, meaning people are searching for sleep problems. Okay, and if problems own sleep, who owns those problems? It's the drug companies. They're the ones that come up next in the search result. as a way to solve that problem. And so now we know where the money is tied up and who is going to continue to try and own that category. But this is why we talk about RSAs, having an emotional conversation about sleep and then tying it to our products. Like, we as an industry have to do a good job. And I think the technology piece of this puzzle gains consumer interest outside of the mattress buying cycle, and that's why I love it.
So you at home or wherever you are, I want you to do this too. I'm going to, hey, stop doing that. That's disgusting.
I think our camera actually fell. Greg,
oh, yeah. There
Greg,
we are.
it's been staring at the wrong.
See, I told you that
Sorry,
duct tape
Facebook
thing wasn't
Live.
going to work. There you
Greg
go.
had tape on the camera, and it was basically just staring down below our neck.
So we're
I'm
shooting
like,
our knees.
Our eyes are up here, okay? Our eyes are up here.
So we got a good shot of
Yeah,
our
it's-
knees.
It's close enough. Tilt it back a little bit.
Okay.
you go.
Oh, there you go. Hey, there we are. So for you, pop quiz. Don't think as Mark Kinsley, betting maven and industry guy. Think as a everyday consumer, and I want you guys to do this too. Answer this question. I'm having a hard time sleeping, and you're going to give me advice on how to get better sleep. What are the top 3 things you think about? Average everyday consumer, what do you think the top 3 things are that they think about? I'm not sleeping well. What should I do? That's my question to you. That's my problem to you.
I think the first thing that a lot of people mention is, well, are you exercising?
Okay.
Do you have a lot of stress?
Stress, exercise, I would agree with both of those.
And then after that, they might say, well, I don't think you're supposed to drink pop at night or soda.
But it might be electronics. That would be another
I don't
one.
know if people
Pop,
are dialed into
electronics. I think they might be. I see a lot of articles and stuff, but
Okay.
maybe not. Maybe not. I think pop would be probably a good one. What else? You think booze? You think they're
I don't think
understanding
people
that part?
understand that. People are like, I can go
And
to
that's
sleep.
denial, right? They don't want to, right?
And denial is not just a river in Egypt.
No, it's real. But my point is, wow, I don't think, and we know this anyway, right? The mattress never comes up. It's not a pillow. It's not your bed. It's never even in the consideration set to solve, to your point, if problems own sleep, and we're not even a solution to the problem. That's a problem.
That is a problem. And one of the other problems that I saw solved, which I think has a similar effect on the world, was Harvey Karp winning the Sleep Tech Summit Award, the inaugural award. Harvey was
Right.
guy, okay? And he figured out there's an on-off switch. Actually, you know what? Let's play that clip.
Yeah.
And so we'll play the clip and then kind of talk about the
You got
deeper
to
dive.
talk to him in person.
Yeah, actually.
And you interviewed him. This was actually legit for Sleep Geek.
So I really started out as a pediatrician for 30 years, but then discovered something that was never known before, which is that babies are born with kind of an off switch for crying and an on switch for sleep, a reflex that no one ever knew before. And it's activated by imitating an experience they have in the womb. So it turns out for the first 4 or 5 or 6 months of life, if you imitate a baby's sensory experience in the womb, the motion, the sound, the snug holding that they have, you're able to dramatically increase their sleep and reduce their crying. And so once I discovered that, and now we have millions of parents using this, we have thousands of educators teaching this in dozens of nations around the world, but people are still suffering in terms of sleep because you can't do these things when you're sleeping. That paired up with the idea that doctors have recommended for the last 20 years that babies should only sleep on their backs in a quiet, flat bed. It turns out that babies should only sleep on their backs, but a quiet, flat bed is actually sensory depriving for a new baby who in the womb has a symphony of sensations soothing them. And so we built this bed. I joined up with one of the heads of the robotics department at MIT Media Lab and a leading designer to create a bed that really imitates the womb or imitates the best grandmother who can rock and shush the baby and hold the baby securely on the back all night long. And then on top of that, the bed actually responds when the baby cries. The bed hears that and chooses the best level of motion and sound that will activate that baby's calming reflex at that time. If the baby is hungry, the bed won't work, it'll stop in a couple of minutes, and then the parent is signaled to come in and give the baby a feeding. And so our hope is that this is really now an opportunity for every parent across America to have their own personal night nurse or their own grandma helping them 24/7 for the first 6 months, really for just $1 a day, maybe $3 a day. And the joke is you're either spending $3 on Red Bull and coffee just to stay awake with your baby, or for the same amount you get the safest, most effective baby bed that's ever been made.
So anyway, what was your takeaway from Harvey?
The coolest thing was this bed has been proven with legitimate scientific studies to help simulate the experience of, I guess, the womb.
Sure.
In in babies like 0 to 6 months, and get them to sleep longer, significantly longer. And so he's figured out how to make babies cry less and how to make babies go to sleep more, which is a win for babies and a win for parents. And the cool thing was, I'm standing there and he's talking about this, and there was a production guy who had done some video work for the Sleep Tech Summit. He hears this going on and he walks over and he goes, "Hey, have you heard about Happiest Baby on the Block?" to Harvey. And I looked at him, I said, "Yeah, he wrote the book." So I'm
Just so happens.
This guy's a raving fan, and he's tested this with millions of mothers and fathers and babies around the country. And so now he's got this crib that I think, to the earlier point, I think this is a cool way for people to start at least thinking about sleep and elevating the category, just like the other tech that we talked about.
Okay, so question for you. What does the crib do? Does it cradle you? Does it rock you? Does it, what does it do? What is the mechanical function?
That's one of the main mechanical functions is whenever a baby is in the womb, there are two primary things, it was my understanding. Like there's the sound and the movement. And so it has sound and movement that simulates the motion that a baby finds comforting, and then they are able to go to sleep better. But you know what we'll do? We'll put links in the show notes to Harvey Karp's invention that he worked with on MIT. But all this stuff, my big takeaway was elevate the awareness of sleep. People hop on the gadgets, they use the tech, they might abandon them, but as a whole, this is a huge benefit for the industry because we start learning about sleep.
Yeah, I love that because more awareness in the category brings, if we as an industry, all of you, do a good enough job of connecting the mattress, the pillow, the sleep essentials, the sheets, and we continue to drive the conversation around those things being able to solve the problem. Because if sleep is owned by problems, then we have to be a solution to the problem. But we as an industry on the same team, not competing, connect our products to those things, then we win. Let me ask you a question. Would it, stupid thought, but I mean, so at the risk of sounding silly, not long ago, I started sleeping with more pillows, right? Normally a pillow was for my head. Then I kind of started putting one in I sleep on my side. So putting one here by my chest and kind of draping my arm over it. So kind of cuddling the pillow, if you will. Then I go to, now I've been in California all week and I've been in a hotel for 3 weeks. I like the beds there because guess what? They have 10 pillows, right? So then I put one right behind my back. So it's not doing anything. It's just there. I can feel it there. And then maybe one down by your leg. So now I've gotten to this thing where I like having multiple pillows, but I think it's because I feel like I'm secure, maybe does that go back to being a baby in the womb where you're cuddled up or something like that? Is that?
I mean, that's what he described. And
do you sleep with more than one pillow?
I sleep with 2 pillows.
You do? Okay, so head and then
I have
one
flat behind my head, and then I actually put one kind of perpendicular and put it along one side of my head and kind of under my shoulder. Right. So I like to kind of have just like you're talking about with your whole body, I like to have my head kind of hemmed in, in a valley there or something like that. And it just makes me feel like I can't hear as much, which is nice, kind of blocks out sound, but just makes me feel good. And that's the thing. I mean, what you're talking about, if you look at going back to what a baby likes and needs, I don't think that we're that far removed all the time. The sound we talked about, it's white noise. We use all these noise machines. That's what a mother is saying to the baby is shh. So that's white noise. Well, and having them hemmed in, I mean, that's the swaddling that you do with a baby. I don't think it's that far removed.
When my kids were young, we had this little, I can't remember what it was, a heartbeat bear or something like that, had a little device in it. You turn around and it goes, choo, choo, choo. So it simulates the heartbeat of the mom. So the kid, the baby, the infant is used to hearing that. But anyway, I love it, man. What a great takeaway. Can I ask you one more question on that note? How many mattress industry people were there outside of you and Magnuson? You don't have to tell me who, but can you give me a count?
So number one, we showed up late
Okay.
because of the busted window and all the police report filing that we had to do for the robbery. Outside of that, I had a chance to meet maybe 10 people, and of those 10 I met, I think one couple of guys were in the adjustable bed space. They were from Europe, and they were going to show at Las Vegas Market. They had a really cool idea. And then beyond that, some of the people I talked to had interfaced with the mattress industry quite a bit for like sleep tech components and things like that, but not a lot of I didn't recognize anybody else. I didn't recognize anybody.
See, that's what's so beyond anything I can comprehend. How is it that our industry isn't there? Connecting to inventors, technology, learning about that stuff. So good on Leggett and Platt. Good on you personally for going. That doesn't surprise me because you're a student of a lot of that. And good for Magnuson for covering that. I hope all of you watching or listening to this go back to your company and encourage them to get more engaged on the tech side and other companies doing cool stuff in the sleep space, because if we do that and it inspires you for an idea, then we can literally change and help human beings sleep better / live better lives, right?
And I think, some of these innovators and inventors have taken a lot of the sleep tech to some of the majors. And so they see this and they've been incorporating it. I think a lot of companies have done a really nice job with getting accurate sleep tracking in their adjustable bases. I think the evolution of this, if I'm reading the Sleep Tech Summit correctly, is really going to be focused on touchless tracking. They had these devices that you could set up on your bedside stand and get accurate readings of your sleep.
I saw one of those. What is it called? It's like almost shoots an infrared light or something.
Yeah,
like
there are a
that?
variety of them
Yeah.
that I saw there, kind of different concepts.
That's a
and
little
different
weird,
takes.
isn't it?
Yeah, but if you think about it, if you don't have to bake it into every piece of hardware, meaning the actual base of the mattress, again, it gets people into the conversation, gets them into the tracking.
Well, I tell you something funny. So it's data. So none of us want to be hacked with. We don't want people knowing a lot. Now Alexa and Siri, I guess they say that some of those devices are just listening to all your stuff all the time. Early on, when we were working with BAM Labs on the Starry Night Bed and the biometric stuff, which no one had ever really done, so it was all brand new, all the guys on the development team, we had to bring some of these devices home so that we could monitor stuff. And none of our wives wanted anything to do with it because of intimacy. They're like, you're not taking all of these measurements back, and then you're going to, all the guys in the lab afterwards are going to be talking about your sex lives and, oh, look at Tuesday, right? Typical guy stuff. So there's a downside, Kinsley. People may not want to know too much information.
Well, if we can use the intimacy piece of the puzzle to drive innovation, then we all need to just sacrifice ourselves in the name of science.
One of my buddies, I won't tell you which one it was, but he's a scientist actually that was on the development team with me, uber smart guy, said, I don't need a computer to count how many times I've been intimate. So I'll leave you with that.
On that note, shh.